Hi, I'm ChopperCharles, and this is my dirty garage. Today I'm going to be doing a valve adjustment on my 2017 SSR Buccaneer. Now the first thing we need to do is remove the seat and loosen the tank. In fact, it's best to just take this off and take these out because they like to get lost. We're going to put them over here someplace safe. Now, next step is to remove spark plugs. For that, 16mm 5/8 spark plug wrench. Just gently pop them out. Okay. And on the front cylinder, we do the same. Okay. Top is the front cylinder, bottom is the rear cylinder. Okay, the next step is to remove the crank cover here. This allows us to rotate the crankshaft. Take the cover out and make sure to get that O-ring. And then this is an inspection cover. Make sure also to get that O-ring. Okay. Now I'm going to jack the bike up just to make it a bit easier to work on. It's actually going to make it a lot easier to work on. Alright, then because we're safety minded, install the locking bar. And then let the lift rest on the bar. Alright, now you can see in here, we're going to rotate that clockwise to get a 1 or a 2 mark on, well, 1 is the front cylinder, 2 is the rear, if memory serves. So these are your valve covers. You're going to need a 24mm wrench, or in my case, a 5/16 is a very close approximation. You come in here and just gently loose. If this is the first time you're doing the valves, this is going to be very tight. Okay, make sure you get the O-ring that's in there with it. And that's the exhaust valve, and now we're going to remove the cover for the intake valve. making sure that O-ring is in there. Okay. Now, we're also going to remove, just to loosen this. This is our voltage regulator. And it gets a bit in the way when we're adjusting the valves. And make sure you get that washer with it. Okay, and then we're just going to let that dangle. Make sure to always put your screws in a place where you're going to remember them and they can't go shooting across the garage floor. Just because your garage is filthy doesn't mean you want to lose stuff. Alright. Nope. Trick into the dirty garage. And that's a 17 millimeter there. Now what we're going to do is rotate the motor clockwise until we see the number 1 mark. There. It's a single slat. You see that? Just a vertical mark. And that means we might be at top dead center. We might not. Right now, it feels like we're at top dead center. And now are we on the ignition or the exhaust stroke? And we can find that out by gently trying to move the valves. And the valves do not move up and down at all, or left and right. So we are on the exhaust stroke. I'm going to do that again. Well, we went a little bit past. Never rotate it backwards. So that one's loose. And that one's loose. Alright. Now here, we've got all this information. Spark plug gap, valve clearance 0.07 to 0.12 millimeters for intake and exhaust. Now, I've also got this Yamaha XV250 manual and the Buccaneer manual. The Buccaneer manual says, it says 8 millimeters, 0.08 millimeters. And the XV250 manual, which is the same motor, says 0.08 to 0.12 millimeters for intake and 10 to 14 for exhaust. And I'm going to go with 0.005 for them both. And so we get our set of feeler gauges here. And these are inches, 0.005 inches, not millimeters. because I don't have millimeter gauges. And we're going to grab a 4, a 5, a 6, and the 7. Because it's a lot easier to work with these single gauges. I'll wipe these off. We're going to come into this exhaust valve here. Just try and fit it under. So the 4, it's going to be real hard to see here. The 4 definitely fits in nice and smooth. The 5. The 5 also fits in nice and smooth. The 6 is tight. It's tough to get in there. And the 7 doesn't go in. That means my exhaust valve on the front is correct. It's between 0.003 and 0.006. Now, do the same for the intake valve here. And for this, actually, we're also going to come through here. This is the reason you need to loosen the tank. I'll lift the tank up and remove these 2 screws. Okay, and this allows me to slide the coil out of the way. Also going to loosen this. There. That's the ignition coil, and now it's slid out of the way. We're going to unhook it. And this is the condensation drain for the crankcase from the air box. Now we're going to stick the 4 in here. And that goes in real easy. And then we're going to stick the 5 in here. And that is tight. And then the 6. And the 6 is very tight. Yeah, the 6 does not want to go in or come out. So I'm going to say this front valve, the front valves are checked. They're within spec. So we're going to move to the rear valves. We're going to get on down here. We're going to look for 2 marks. 2 marks. And then we're going to see and make sure we are at top dead center. But of course I haven't taken the valve covers off yet. Now be careful when you do this. I actually just dented that right there. It's just soft aluminum. So be careful when you're working on your bike. Okay, got the O-ring there. And notice that I'm putting these down in order so that I don't mix them up. That's not really necessary. because they're interchangeable. But I like to do it. And making sure that O-ring's in there. Okay, and now we wiggle the valves. That's not moving. That's not moving. So we got to go around again. And we're going to see the single mark first. That's how we know we're near. There's the front cylinder, top dead center. Oh, and there's the rear. It doesn't matter if you go just a hair too much, just don't back it up. And now these are loose. You can maybe hear it. But you'll definitely be able to feel it wiggle them up and down and left and right. Okay. Now we're going to check this rear cylinder. Just going to go ahead and straight up start with the 7. And you're not going to be able to really see it from this angle. It's really kind of a bear to get to. And the 7 is a no-go. You're going to have to go by feel for this rear cylinder. You're not going to be able to see it. Let's check the 6. And that goes right on in. It's tight. So that valve is also correctly adjusted. For the intake valve on the rear cylinder, we're going to have to go around to the right side of the bike, where we've got a much better view of it. We got the 7 again, and the 7 does not go. And the 6 does. Now, I've just taken this whole bike apart just to check my valves and find that they're pretty much perfectly adjusted. And I'm not going to let that stand. So what I'm going to do is adjust one for you. This tool right here is essential. It's got a 9mm square. No, wait, that's 9mm. And I think that's a 3mm or 4mm. I don't remember. But that's the part number right there. And with all the tight clearances we have in here, it's really essential for adjusting the valves. So what I'm going to do is just back this nut off. And then you set the tool on top and you turn. You want to make sure that that goes on so that it's turning the valve. Now we get our feeler gauge. Try and push it in. 7's a no-go. 6 is a no-go. 5 is a no-go. So we're going to rotate this top part counterclockwise until the 5 slides in. Okay? And it's going to be nice and snug. Then we're going to lift this up, rotate it over, and then set it down, and then push to the right. Just a little bit. And then come back with the 5 and see if it still fits. And it does. And we're going to see that the 6 fits. The 6 is really tight, but it does go in. And the 7 does not go in at all. So then what we're going to do is tighten it more. You can put quite a bit of force on this. It's so short that you're not going to actually strip anything out. Now we come back through here, make sure the 5 fits easily. The 6 is very, very tight. And the 7 is a no-go. And that's it. That's what it takes to adjust the valves. And reassembly is just the reverse of that process. It does not matter how the coil is hooked up here. And everything else is just reassembly. And this has been Chopper Charles and My Dirty Garage. I'll post a link for this special tool because it really does make life easier. You can do it without it, but I really don't recommend it. I've done valves on lots of bikes, and having found this, I would never do it without it again. Thank you for watching.